do an early game plan with that draft in the previous game. So I'm thinking that TSM want to give themselves more late game outs in this game number 3 to try and turn around the series, have some more scaling on their side of the map, and Tristana is a great way to do that. It's both scaling and it's flexibility, and it has kill pressure early, so definitely a good first pick.
Yeah, the Tristana, still think this is an S+ tier pick in multiple roles. Love seeing it picked up first here. The Udyr was banned away, so TL is guaranteeing that Spica has to play a different champion here this time around. Also made it easier for TSM to just say, all right, we'll take Tristana first, because Udyr's not even available. The response from Team Liquid is to pick up the Nidalee that Santorin just absolutely took over the game with in game number 2, as well as grabbing a Leona there for CoreJJ, denying the all-in potential there to be picked up alongside the Tristana with TSM, and also giving CoreJJ an awesome initiation tool there in the bottom lane. The response is a Hecarim versus the Nidalee here for Spica, and Nautilus going up against Leona there in the bottom side, with Team Liquid now hovering over the Xayah, a very good champion in response to an ultimate like Nautilus, or a dive from a champion like a Hecarim, or maybe the Ezreal instead. But either way, the AD carry choice here will be defensive as the Ezreal's locked in.
I really love the Xayah pick there. Ezreal does combine with Leona quite well. You can easily follow up on her stuns. You have long range as well. And also, I think the decision here to pivot off of Xayah, while Xayah would be great for the team fight, into Nautilus and Hecarim, it's such good, insanely good anti-dive. Ezreal is still decent versus it with Arcane Shift. You don't actually go untargetable, but you can at least gain some distance and try and make it more difficult for the Nautilus to get the point and click on you or the Hecarim to get back to you. But what it really does better than Xayah is allow CoreJJ to roam with Nidalee. And Nidalee plus Leona is an insanely deadly jungle support combination. You want to see these two playing together. Those two meet you in the river, in the jungle, you are locked up. The spear is guaranteed to hit if the Leona is close enough to stun you up, and you will be dead. So CoreJJ and Santorin locking themselves up, a very high priority on the jungle support duo actually this time around, and they might just let Tactical fend for himself on the bottom side. Hopefully the arcane shifts don't resemble too many of the early rocket jumps, and he'll be able to use it defensively and allow the other two to do the damage.
Well, the bans here in the second phase have to be targeted towards those solo laners. And once again, there's a lot of focus on the top side. So Team Liquid probably just going to pick that blind pick here for Alphari. There's the Aatrox locked in. But it is worth noting as well, TSM respecting the Ahri from Jensen after the big performance in game number 2, how many multi-man Everfrosts he got off in those fights, how well he was able to skirt the edges of his opponent's range and really play that champion to the extent of what it can do. They don't want to deal with that again, so that one's removed. And although Team Liquid are saving that 5th pick for Jensen's counter pick here yet again, it will be forced to be something different. Camille was banned away in game number 2. She'll be picked up here, so it's Huni on Camille versus Alphari on the Aatrox in the top side.
Okay, that one can definitely be volatile, so we're again going to highlight Santorin versus Spica in the early game to look at how they can affect that matchup, because it certainly affected the Rumble into Gangplank 1. Seraphine does follow it up here for PoE, so since Nautilus is already locked in, that is going to be a mid-lane Seraphine there for PowerOfEvil. They have done it before. You get your shield for the Hecarim, your Nautilus and Hecarim frontline, diving in there with Camille flank, and gives you plenty of targets to bounce your Seraphine ultimate off of.
Oh, but if we're talking about Seraphine Ultimate, Sylas drafted here for Team Liquid, stealing away that Seraphine ulti. There's actually so many good ults to steal from the side of TSM for Jensen, and I really like this Sylas pick here as the answer to everything they're seeing over there on the TSM side.
And they're showing value for what you were just talking about, Captain Flowers. They're actually using Jensen as a flexible pick in Champ Select. This has not happened for Team Liquid for the majority of the history of this organization since they got Jensen on the team. It's primarily been him on control mages. He has had some LeBlanc games in there. They mixed it up a couple times, but this degree, they're actually having Alphari multiple times blind pick his top lane matchup in favor of getting Jensen these counter picks. And I really like this one. As you're mentioning, Sylas has a plethora of ults to seal. Every single one of them is good. Even the Tristana one, it's, you know, for Sylas to have the, you know, AP conversion there, it's a really big damage execution if you can use that too. It's not the most ideal considering how good all the other ones are though.
Yeah, you can still point and click. You can still get plenty of damage. Sylas also capable of holding his own in a 1v1, and that can be especially important up against a champion that is building a Moonstone, that is going to be just sort of a second support from a solo lane role like you see with mid lane Seraphine, like you see with a Karma top or something similar. These champions, they spike really early. Their items cost about $3.50. They have the ability to bring a lot to a 5v5 very early on in the game. So if you just don't 5v5, all of a sudden your opponents have 2 supports and you don't. So we'll see if Team Liquid can maneuver around that from TSM. I do want to point out it is an Ignite teleport for Huni's Camille there in the top side. That is always a risky gambit, and we'll see if it pays off.
Yeah, Sylas also loves to have a free lane versus the Seraphine. The Seraphine does have a lot of range, but focuses a lot on the wave clear. Huni starts his E, and we'll get a small chunk on Alphari, but that's about it. So it's going to be E start there for Camille for Huni. He's gone the grasp in this matchup and taken the Ignite because it is, you know, so easily swung for the top side, and why I kind of highlighted junglers with these early picks for the top laners, looking to try and set up Huni. They even invade on top side to try and get you know, some early advantage for top side of the map. They don't leave the deep ward though. They just defensively ward, and they actually saw the entry because of this ward over behind Red Pit that they laid themselves for TSM. They saw Team Liquid come in and lay this ward. So guess what? Sweeper is purchased there by Spica, lays his own ward, and they immediately transition over. They actually gave some experience to Huni as well, I believe, to be able to get the splash on solo laners. But if all 5 of them shared, then it's not enough. So anyway, Jensen goes in for the trade onto PoE immediately onto the Seraphine to try and you know, gain a little bit of extra pressure here and push up.
And one thing I do want to point out that we saw in the top lane when Huni jumped on Alphari. Alphari dashed away. He has E at level 1 instead of having Q, so his ability to push the wave, to trade, it's pretty lousy at this point. He doesn't exactly get to do very much just by dashing at level 1, so that will give Huni an advantage here early on in the lane, at least a little bit more than he otherwise would have had. But here in mid lane, PowerOfEvil is just being a ranged champion versus a melee champion early on. He'll have that priority, while on the bottom side, the 2v2 puts a little bit of damage into CoreJJ, but he's Leona, and he's not too worried about that.
Yep. Mid lane there is going to be easy AoE for Seraphine early on. As you can see, Jensen has gone for the fleet footwork as well with the taste of blood. So investing as much healing as he can for the early stages. Sylas scales so well. He's just trying to get through you know, some of the early harassment. And Seraphine will almost always focus those on the wave. So you just have to step a little bit to the side so you don't get harassed while Jensen is going for wave control. And should be able to sustain pretty decently with the fleet footwork.
Nice CS lead here in the top side for Huni, but that is also a bunch of minions pushing up. Alphari tries to dash away from the hook shot, but he can't get out far enough, and that means Huni gets an easy trade of about half of Alphari's HP. He'll drink his potion, he'll heal up a little bit. He's not in any danger of being dove here just yet, but he wants to farm up as many of these minions as he can and try to get that CS difference a little bit more under control.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the E start. Huni abused it to the maximum. He denies the cannon right there, too. It dies to the tower, so Alphari really hurting in the early stages here. Definitely want to see for TSM focus up on the top side to accentuate the strength here for Huni. It's Ignite Camille, so don't leave him out to dry. You have Ignite Camille top with no flash. If he gets ganked by Santorin and dies, it is going to be a complete collapse for TSM. So Spica, he starts bottom side, routes up towards the top side. He wants to help out with Huni with his early lead that he did get over Alphari. Wants to make sure that he's not under any pressure from the Nidalee.
Huni continues to maintain that control. Both junglers have gone back for their first purchase of the game. And there's that first purchase. This is what you were talking about back in game 1 of the series, Kobe. How enticing it is for junglers of all shapes and sizes to go for those cooldown boots nice and early, and they both picked them up on that first buy.
Yeah, the value there is so insane because cooldown reduction, translates for pretty much all jungle champions into good damage output for clearing since you're spamming all of your abilities and the extra move speed. So it's definitely a no-brainer there for most of the jungles. Santorin comes right back though. Flowers, there's no surprise. With this volatile of a matchup with an Ignite there for Huni, definitely going to constantly attract junglers fighting over vision so that their laners can actually focus on their trades and try and earn themselves OCS leads. Alphari pushing back now on the Aatrox requires a little bit of cover to bounce back the wave. So Santorin up on top side, wards and transitions to Krugs.
PowerOfEvil did just return to mid lane with his teleport. You can see his itemization, grabbing a tier here, just increasing the mana pool, making sure that he can continue to spam those spells, while also grabbing an early Null Magic Mantle. Recognizing what you were talking about earlier, how this becomes a bit of a free lane for Sylas. He doesn't want to be in danger of just getting 100 to 0'd as easily by the combo of Jensen and Santorin together. So building a little bit defensively against that double AP threat might be the difference between him staying alive or not. Checking in on junglers, both are at around the same pace here. Santorin's roughly one camp behind. He just clears that one out onto his own Gromp. We'll see which one of them can get involved and make a move first. Spica had a really good game 1. It was Santorin having an awesome game number 2. But remember that the level 6 means so much for Hecarim when that onslaught of shadows comes online. Both supports now also roaming around the map. You alluded to this earlier too with the Ezreal pick, allowing CoreJJ to just be all over the place. And we heard from Santorin, or not from Santorin, excuse me, from SwordArt in his own words, talking about how he's got the same support mind as CoreJJ, wanting to roam around with the team, set up plays for everybody, group together. And so these two both looking to get involved all over this map. Santorin backs up, eats some honey fruit here in the river. The Drake will not even be warded by the side of TSM. They don't see how low Santorin is, so it's a free Drake over to TL.
Yeah, it was a really smart call because they had a little blip of vision of Spica towards the top side. And so as long as CoreJJ challenges SwordArt to a staring contest there, support versus support up on the ramp by the jungle, they know where anybody who would interrupt that dragon is. And that's why Santorin got so low at it. He was confident that even down to 150 HP with the jungler on the top side, with support staring at the other support, you would not be interrupted. And Team Liquid, they finesse a dragon out of this early game for an objective with no answer there from TSM. All that TSM really got was the top scuttle for Spica and getting to that level 6 you're talking about a little bit quicker.
Huni jumps in for a fast trade, but he doesn't want to overcommit to it. And that's a good thing because Santorin is still here. He's still trying to make those moves. He lands the spear through the minions. Huni's going to lose a lot of HP on that one. He's forced to back up. And even though they don't get the kill, Huni has got to surrender this wave underneath the turret. That's more than just one wave's worth of EXP. That is a cannon there as well. Santorin's still here. Spica's coming up now. They're looking for the full-on 2v2. Perhaps Alphari trying to survive, but it's TSM who's got the bodies there faster. Santorin's too far away, and Spica picks up first blood.
Ships in the night, Flowers. The Hecarim comes past the ward that they had. There's no sight on Spica. And just as Santorin jumps over that wall, it's an easy 2v1 for TSM. That's the Ignite kill for Huni as well. And there you go. Junglers were going to turn this top lane matchup. It happens. Santorin actually with a really good play too. Pushes him off the minion wave. They force Huni to miss out on the cannon here. So that one dies. They get the turret plate. But right when Santorin leaves, Spica comes in. He's not seen by the ward on the other side of that brush. And guess what? No matter how many cinematic turns you take, whoa, okay.
Oh, we got to fight. Never mind. We can't even talk about it. Huni's grabbing the kill on Alphari with the onslaught of shadows coming in now as well. But Spica's killed off by Santorin, and TSM's having to run away. Huni's ignited. Huni's gone. You got SwordArt running into the enemy jungle to stay alive. But boy, you are behind enemy lines. This is not going to be a Saving Private Ryan type of story this time around. Looks like he may just execute to the turret here. That's about his only option. Walking up there, and there he goes. Turret takes out SwordArt, so at least no extra rewards given over to the side of Team Liquid. But we got an even game now, 2-2.
We need to see that setup. Are you kidding me? What? We come back 4 people surrounded. This is a Rift Tail transition. You look at the mini-map, both AD carries are coming, but Ezreal is further away. Alphari just surrounded by 4 members. What a Seraphine ult by PoE. He gets the other side of Alphari, shoots it through the rest of the team, but then Spica, he had another second on his smite, I think. Look at that, the cooldown for his smite just came up, and yet the Rift Herald was sitting there at 300 HP. So many minute details popping off here at this Rift Herald that we come right back to, and it actually turns out with an extra couple kills over there, and the Rift Herald to the side of Team Liquid. Now they come back to a game state where with Rift Herald in hand for Santorin, they actually recover from that early kill that we just saw from Huni and Spica grabbing onto Alphari.
And throwback to the first blood, by the way. Hold on, we got CoreJJ jumping in. Never mind, Lost gets away. Throwback to the first blood, because there's been nonstop action ever since then. Remember that the LCS has partnered with the Blood Centers of America, and if you've had COVID-19, we need your plasma. You can get a KDA All-Out Kaisa skin for it if you donate there. So go ahead and go check that one out. Do some good in the world. Grab yourself some free stuff at the same time. It's a win-win-win. But right now, Team Liquid cannot find the accuracy there on the skill shot because of Lost's cleanse getting him out of the way. The spear won't find the mark. Now, does TL want to further invest down into this? It doesn't quite look like it. True Shot Barrage just to thin out that next wave, make it so they can shove that one in. You can see CoreJJ deciding to go ahead, reset, get back, get some more wards there in the inventory, and he'll be right back out on the map.
Also, I'm going to nitpick here since we got some time. It's just a blue hand.
All right, what do you got, buddy?
Not going to be action. Santorin threw the spear before CoreJJ cast the ultimate. So, like, the spear is just out of his hands, and the ultimate goes down. Yeah, Tactical does cleanse it right there, you know, as it does hit center on him. But the spear should be thrown after the ultimate is going to set it up, regardless if he has cleanse and he cleanses out of it anyway, and then you end up missing. Small little things for timing there for the setup on it. Doesn't matter though. Transition over. They're just cashing in on the turret plates here. Once Shelly starts her windup, this animation you can see, you can't stop her. So it does go off. They just quickly cash in on the money. It looks like Team Liquid were a little bit worried they wouldn't be able to get a good opening to use it, and so just want to get some damage on the mid turret, the most important one, a little bit early, and ensure that they do get their gold value.
Exactly. That gold value is the difference between the teams right now. That 300 gold, that's Team Liquid's advantage. And now they've aggroed the Drake, but they don't want to stick onto it. They know that TSM is invested down here. TSM gave away that first Drake. They do not want to allow TL to have the 2-0 edge in these early Drakes here. An early Infernal will pad their damage with just a little bit of extra spice, which is always nice, but nobody's committing to nothing just yet. Infernal chains from Alphari find the mark on the Huni, but he jumps right back in there with the hook shot again, just making the trade a little bit even.
Dragon pulled, and it's under vision here, so they see that it's leashed, and they call over Spica. You do have plenty of time for the early Dragon, still 2.7 thousand life for him. SwordArt is level 6 now as well, so you have to respect it. The Dragon taking Santorin to 60% HP, but Spear lands and evens it up with Spica's health.
CoreJJ with a flash engage over the wall, coming in for a little bit more, but Lost is able to stay alive. CoreJJ stuck here in the very front line. It's TSM winning out in the fight for now, but Spica's going to be taken down next. Everybody's dying back and forth, but it's TSM popping off. It's a double kill over to Lost, but the boy's going to be finished off. Jensen's coming right back in. This is what I was talking about. Your mid laner does no damage, and Jensen can turn the fight around and make it break even. 3-3.
We've got a big difference there. Flowers right out of the opening. PoE, he hits another giant Seraphine ultimate, and they get a big lead in the team fight for TSM. But Lost gets these resets. He got 2 people dying at the same time. He then uses the reset. So once again, good rocket jump buffer there. But then here he starts getting his resets, starts getting happy. All right, jumps on that one, executes the 2 other. Here, jump on the other one. But that one is Jensen. That's a Sylas. That's 50%. He just gets him with the W right there. And Jensen gets to use his classic emote afterwards as well. And let me tell you, you don't want to feed a Sylas. This champion scales insanely well. They keep buffing the scaling on this champion. He's got an Everfrost completed, plus the cooldown reduction. Now Jensen will be a menace with this Sylas. The ult coming up very quickly as well, so he can steal off even the Seraphine ultimate here in the mid lane from PoE, and then go make plays for Team Liquid. They also get the second Dragon for themselves. So TSM, they had a good opening to that fight, but definitely getting a little bit caught up in the fray and underestimating Sylas. Can't jump right on him, giving him an easy Kingslayer.
And now with that Everfrost, man, this item is so powerful on champions that already have a hard CC. If Sylas ever hits his chain or just dashes in position for the Everfrost, either one can follow up the other. You are taking both halves of the Q guaranteed. Very powerful stuff here. 3-0-2 on this mid laner. On the other side, PowerOfEvil does have the Moonstone. Lost, you got to be careful about this one, buddy. Tactical will not go all the way in after that, but Lost is not happy with the way that fight went. TSM moving forward with a 3-man collapse, trying to steal away the enemy red. But now Team Liquid is deciding to respond in force themselves. Alphari coming over the wall here with a World Ender. CoreJJ's there. He's not afraid to throw himself into the fray. Follow-up coming in from Jensen, but CoreJJ is the only one dead here so far. Alphari looking for a little bit more as Huni's about to die. Jensen misses everything, and that's enough for TSM to take the fight. It's a double kill for Spica and a 2-for-0 overall. Jensen's going right back in, goes on a rampage to get one, make it a 2-for-1, but TSM will take the fight.
They do actually release the Rift Herald, but they've got no health bars to do it because Jensen flashed back in to get that counter kill. It is going to be a stop to the Rift Herald, and Tactical lost this whole time, just wailing away on the bottom turret. TSM won that 4v5 starting out inside the jungle. That's definitely going to turn the tables for this mid game. Team Liquid still have a good dragon lead, and they have to keep their eyes on this 3-minute timer. But the extra gold going over is going to be favorable. Here's another look at it. Huni did actually go in onto CoreJJ too. They burst down CoreJJ without significant damage being done. Huni gets focused next. Jensen can't get the snare over onto SwordArt, and Huni actually survives, goes back out the other side until Jensen flashes back in to finish off Spica. This is still pre-11.6, by the way. Sylas has more buffs even on live. In addition to his 11.31, so it's not even as powerful as you would see from the live Sylas, but 4 kills here still for Jensen. His bounty was not picked up by TSM, and Team Liquid still want to play off of their dragons and set up for those again. This is second Rift Herald, so it's not as high priority. Not going to rush out to that fight again.
And the Seeker's Arm Guard on Jensen now raises another point of difficulty for TSM here in this game. They have no real AP threat as the game scales forward. You have Seraphine, but she's building support items, right? She has a Moonstone Renewer. This is not a big burst mage here in the mid lane. So you've got Tristana, you've got Camille, you've got Hecarim. They all have damage, but they're all physical damage. So the plated steel caps for Alphari, the Seeker's Arm Guard for Jensen. Just these small amounts of armor when the enemy team is entirely physical damage can go a long way in giving you extra mileage in these team fights, especially when they're trying to focus on you and bring you down with a big multi-man wombo combo engaged with Hecarim and Seraphine ultis, and that's going to get scary as the game moves forward.
Certainly is. Yep, CoreJJ and Alphari way ahead. They're like, yep, steel caps for us. No problem there, no hesitation. Honestly, though, I would say Camille with a decent true damage profile as far as damage profiles go. So
okay,
always going to have
true. Joe got the ulti on Q, outdoes armor. True. You got me there.
Bottom side is going to be trade of turrets, though, as both of them do end up going down. And Team Liquid answers 1-to-1 turrets for outside. Both of them trading here. Dragon now approaches, though. 1 minute is the mark where you want to get your recalls off so you have enough time to get your control wards and safely get him in place to actually establish your vision control. Then you can play off your threat of your Leona Sylas combination and try and force your opponents into you. Because TSM, if TSM get early set up on this Dragon, Team Liquid are in a very scary scenario. You know, Nautilus and Seraphine. As much as, you know, you don't have big AP damage coming out here, just base AP values and the AoE from those 2 ultimates on any team that decides to funnel through to a late arrival to a Dragon will be devastating. So that's why they're expending teleport. They got the early recalls off. You see everybody with control wards coming down for Team Liquid. They want to get in place first.
Okay, big thing to note here. PowerOfEvil is going for a Kimtech Purifier second item, which will allow him to bless all of his teammates with 60% Grievous Wounds. It's not completed yet. It is not done in time for this fight. That would be a huge purchase, considering how many players on both sides need those heals. Spica tries to go in. They're going after Jensen. He steals away the Onslaught of Shadows. He's nearly killed off, but nearly isn't enough. Jensen has no TP, though, so considering this is a 4v5 for TL, that should just be the Drake. For the side of TSM, I don't see any world where TL can contest this and it's not just a hard in. So yeah, they'll all back away. Nicely done from TSM.
and they expend the Grievous Wounds that they do have, the Ignite from Huni. So before PoE can bridge the gap there, before he gets that Chem Tank Purifier, that's a worth Ignite. Huni ignites, they chunk down Jensen, he can't heal back up, and so that earns them an objective. Team Liquid do answer with mid lane and get some gold back for themselves, but I definitely agree, like that's a worthwhile stop to Dragon stacking, expending that cooldown, getting the Mountain Drake picked up there for TSM, not allowing Team Liquid an easy course to try and force you into them. And then, to cover the next fight, then they'll be able to complete the Purifier that you're talking about for PoE to try and have that similar value on the Sylas, on the Nidalee, on the Aatrox. There's just insane value here. Yeah.
Yeah, and look at how important it is for the side of Team Liquid, though, too. You have to deal with a Hecarim who drain tanks everything off of all damage everybody around him does. You're going to have to deal with Seraphine gigantic AoE heals. So there's an argument to be made for a lot of Grievous Wounds power on the side of Team Liquid as well, but there's just nothing. There's no Grievous Wounds right now on anyone. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not seeing a single item. And that could have a pretty large impact the next time we see a 5v5 if they don't have that healing online and Spica is able to jump in and absorb all that damage. And PowerOfEvil can protect everybody with the power of this 5v5 support style build with the Moonstone Renewer and the Chemtech Purifier. That's some scary stuff. And this game is still so incredibly close, Kobe. Only 500 gold separating the squads 20 minutes in.
Yeah, surprise, surprise with how much sustain in the game. The majority of them, you are going to find good value out of Grievous Wounds. You're also going to find good value. I want to point out the Iron Solari Locket, active for CoreJJ, picked up by Leona. Big team fight value. That's a good burst shield there for him. Love to see that. The other option, of course, is the Chem Tank if you're looking for more picks for the Leona. And I would say you've kind of passed the area of the game that you would want to go for that. That would be this early Nidalee Leona that we were hyping up in Champ Select, looking for them to roam around, look for these 2v2 picks, and get that extra speed. But for the rest of the game, for so many of these team fights over these objectives, the Locket just provides so much value there for Team Liquid, for that health bar sustain for themselves. Just get the extra shield on top to block some of the initial damage. And TSM, they're trying to deal with the deficit of the Mist Tower in mid lane. And this is why almost all these early Rift Heralds that are just placed for quick 2 turret gold or 2 plates gold are used in mid lane. Once you get that mid lane tower down, you can flex either your mid lane pushes after the minion wave is pushed into top or bottom side jungle and establish control on which either side you need to flex to, given that, Baron pressure is up on the table or Dragon is spawning. So it allows you so many more options, and that's what Team Liquid are using to their advantage. Despite all this, though, TSM very, very well set up in these team fights, Flowers. We've been hyping up, and we've been talking about this Nautilus, Seraphine, Hecarim and Camille combination for the engage so much. It can be a big wombo as far as if you have vision control and you're able to, chain those CCs. The fear, the charm, and the knockup can all be layered to turn this game right back around.
So much of this game will ride on the next big fight, considering everything is just balanced on that knife's edge right now. It could go either way so incredibly easily. Dragon split 2-1. Next Dragon spawning here in about 80 seconds or so. Top lane tier 2 is under pressure by TSM, and remember that earlier they got that second Rift Herald charge when they took the tier 1 turret. So all it's going to take is 1 E and the subsequent auto attacks, and Lost just destroys this thing for free. So that's some extra money there. You can see the turret falls over. Huni's even there to help, and they'll keep on escorting this minion wave even further up. Make sure it collides with the tier 3, crashes into the turret there. Alphari comes over to answer. Second items are online now for almost everyone that is not a support. The exception here is Alphari, who still has a bit more work to do because he stopped off for the Bramble Vest there just to try to apply some Grievous Wounds on anybody stuck attacking him on the front line. But that next Drake, man, 35 seconds from now, you can see Team Liquid already setting up shop, placing wards in the enemy jungle, trying to make sure TSM's not in a good spot to try to contest any of this. That Everfrost barely missing out on the stun that would have also meant the spear hitting could have spelled some bad news for Spica.
Yeah, putting a lot of effort into their first setup on this Dragon again. But TSM, their teamfight is so good that they can just try and group up and bully their way in here. If you just move up your front line with your Hecarim and your Nautilus trying to threaten possible Seraphine bounces there, you can just walk your way in, brute force up to the Dragon, just as they're doing here. And Team Liquid are going to be forced to teleport in Alphari if they want any chance at fighting this Dragon. Huni is positioned on a ward, looking for the flank.
Huni looking for a chance to jump in there, but the TP has arrived from Alphari. Team Liquid don't want to wait any longer. They need him here at the onset of the fight. Jensen has already stolen away the Onslaught of Shadows. He's ready to go in with that if need be. Dragon aggroed by TSM down to 4K. Taking it even lower. Committing in here for what could be a 50-50. Spica CC, but it's Alphari who's down below half. A lot of damage coming out. Alphari's going to be taken down. The Dragon's collected by Santorin, but Team Liquid now going to win the fight if they're looking to get out alive. TSM has better health bars. TSM has control over the area, and Team Liquid is falling back into enemy territory. Jensen's waiting in the brush, just daring them to come after, daring them to face check into these brushes. Team Liquid has to play this so well if they want to get away from this, but it looks like TSM's just going to give it up. They don't want to pursue into this. They don't want to risk overextending into the powerful damage potential of these three Team Liquid players. But now that Team Liquid tries to make their exit, it's TSM coming around from the side. Team Liquid engaging on the split forces of TSM, shut down onto Tactical, more coming in. TSM's about to get a gift wrap present, baby. Jensen flashes over the wall, stays alive, but you can't say the same for Santorin. Double kill for Tristana.
PoE and TSM just, again, brute force, run through bottom side. If you can get Team Liquid to group up like that, you saw the tremendous value off of this AoE. The Seraphine popping off Moonstone heals, popping off AoE heals and shields for the team, and applying the Chemtech Purifier to the entire team, just cutting Team Liquid down to size. And they win out in the sustained war afterwards as well. With the extra kills they chase down in their ring around the rosy of the Dragon Pit, guess what? Your new reward is Baron.
Oh, baby, the True Shot Barrage, and nope, not going to happen. Valiant effort, but the enemy jungler's in the pit. You should never be able to steal it with anything not named a Super Mega Death Rocket. Right there as well. So the Red Bull Baron goes over to TSM, and even though Team Liquid is now on sole point, you take that trade, man. TSM feeling great about this one, and here's how they collapse to finish off TL.
Yeah, this is just the finishing move, and this is really well played because you see the coordination. TSM only have eyes for Tactical there. They ignore Jensen, they ignore Santorin, and they immediately go for the initiation. Spica gets his devastating charge onto Tactical, the Ezreal with no summer spells. So even with Arcane Shift, TSM take him out first, and after he's down, the main threat is there. They could just 4v2 the rest of the fight. With PowerOfEvil, healing them right back up. So much value. You talked about the power curve of the cheap support items on Seraphine.
Yeah.
This is her comfort zone. Just providing AoE giant heals, AoE CC, and Grievous Wounds for the entire team. It is just the most valuable point in the game, and so it's very important that they snowball off of this. Their grouping is incredibly strong, and they just power forward.
Oh, Charm onto two, nicely done! Tactical's already out of the fight. SwordArt takes some damage, but CoreJJ will burn away. 2 kills over to TSM. They have lost no one. SwordArt's still alive. Alphari's going to be jumped on next. TSM are going straight for the jugular. Santorin is alive, but Jensen will not be for much longer. The damage comes through. The shutdown comes out. Santorin's going home in a body bag. And TSM are giving us a series, ladies and gentlemen. The Bud Light Ace will turn into the game-ending push.
Yeah, their work's not done, but it's going to be easy, Captain Flowers. Multiple choice. Do you want to kill the Nexus turrets or the Nexus or all of the above? It's going to be all of the above, and we are going to a Game 4 here for TSM. Comeback is in the works. The first stone has been laid.
And major props to PowerOfEvil. We talk about this guy always being known for his control mage play in the mid lane. This time around, he was put on a strictly supportive role. In a game where TSM got 16 kills by the time the enemy Nexus blew up, he was 0, 0, and 15. The perfect score for a supportive player. And PowerOfEvil's Seraphine was so important for all those team fight wins, for giving them the Grievous Wounds to shut down their opponents, for keeping everybody alive so they could get the Baron after the Dragon play. Honestly, great stuff here from TSM, bouncing back in game number 3 after they looked a bit boomed in number 2.
Yeah, here's our summary so far for the series. Game number 1, everybody's freaking out. It's going to be a great series. This is as close as we wanted. TSM versus Team Liquid, open it to the playoffs. All right, then game number 2 hits. You're like, well, never mind. Team Liquid, it looks like they're going to run over this entire series 3-0, and TSM bring it right back to reality. Much, much better drafting this time around. Big difference between game number 2 and this game is that they are not just boxed into winning lane and early game win conditions for TSM in this draft. They have such an incredibly strong team fight with this mid-game power spike of Seraphine, and they're able to use that effectively, grouping up on that dragon and snowballing that dragon fight on Team Liquid into the Baron and picking off these second kills that are actually delayed and delay the death timers, Flowers. It was a quick rebuttal here, and I'm glad to see it because we get more games.
Yes, TSM are still alive, and so is this series. We're heading to another break, but once we're back, the State Farm Analyst Desk is going to break down that TSM win. We'll see you there.